Hi there guys and girls out there in MIDI guitar land. If you've ever come to my channel before, chances are you've probably come here for some information on using the Roland VG-99 with modern macOS. As of macOS Catalina, which I think was 10.15, there has been no support for 32-bit drivers and applications on macOS. So I got a question on my connecting VG-99 to macOS Sequoia video yesterday, and it was basically, in a nutshell, how do I install the drivers? Well, the easy answer, or the short answer, is you don't. The long answer is, well, if you have an Intel Mac, even running Sequoia, you can install the drivers, but you just can't access all the functions of them. And anyway, I started thinking, well, I've made a bunch of these videos over the years, but I guess the information's kind of all a bit spread out. So like, why not try and consolidate it all into a single video, which would just mean that anybody who's got a new Mac who wants to get their VG-99 connected can just have this single resource. So that's what I'm going to do today. Don't expect this to be a short video, but I'm going to put index points in there. And I guess I should also just like caveat that it is kind of difficult to explain these things on a system that is already set up. And so I've actually gone through and like removed some aspects of the setup so that I'll be doing it kind of clean, but I'm not prepared to go through and completely wipe my, my setup because it takes a long time to set up again. And I don't have a clean computer that I can just install this on for everyone's benefit. So I'll do my best to explain it, but if there are any things along the way which seem confusing or whatever, just pop a comment down below and I will definitely get back to you. Okay, so if you're going to make your VG-99 work with macOS, there are two things to consider. First of all, there's the audio side of things, and second of all, there's the MIDI side of things. Now, the VG-99 has two driver modes. It has the standard mode and the advanced mode. You can't use the advanced mode on an M series Mac. It's just never going to happen. Don't even try and install it. It'll just give you a headache. But if you use the standard driver, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Now, how do you know if the standard driver is what you're using? Go into your audio MIDI setup, and if you see VG-99.1 and VG-99.2, after you've connected your device via USB to the computer, you're good to go. If you don't see anything, it means that in your device, the advanced driver is selected. So what you want to do, go to your device, you need to hit the system button, you need to page over to USB, hit the USB button, page over to driver mode and change this here from advanced to standard, and you'll get this please restart message. Okay, once you've done that, you restart your device and it will pop up here just as I showed you. At this point, you don't need to do anything further if you intend to use the audio side of the VG-99 only. If you open a DAW, for example, Ableton Live, and you go into your audio settings and select a device, you can see the VG-99's here. That's the input, VG-99 output. I've got the buffer size set to 64. It seems to work fine on a modern Mac like that. Yep, I'm getting a test signal through it. And that's that. You're good to go. Head over here and start recording. I'll just point out that I've labeled all of these in here. So that's why you can see the names at this top level in Ableton Live. That's your audio mission complete. But then there's the other side. What if you want to use the editor? What if you want to use the Librarian? Well, in that case, you need to establish a MIDI connection between the Roland device and your computer. And that is a little bit trickier. There is no MIDI that's going to pass back and forward over your USB cable as things stand at this stage. This is where we need to bring in some help. First of all, you're going to need to connect your VG-99's DIN MIDI ports to your computer in some way. The easiest way, in my opinion, to do that is to use an interface like this UM1 Mark II. I recommend this one because it just works. If you take a look at the Roland USB MIDI interface here, you can see that there's tab and comp here, and there's actually a little switch inside here, and you you can flick that to the left for the tab mode, which basically is class compliant, or you can flick it to the right for computer mode, which requires a driver. Either mode will work, but I'm going to recommend that you use the computer mode for this. So head on to the Roland site, search for UM1 Mark II, head to downloads. You should find the UM1 Mark II driver version 1.04 for macOS, and it goes all the way up to Sequoia 15 here. You're just going to want to go through and download that. You can figure that out on your own. One thing I would point out is that the driver, when you go to install it, may not indicate 15. It might say 14, but don't worry. You can just go ahead and install it. It works. Another thing to keep in mind is that anytime you install a driver for Roland or Boss devices on macOS, you need to restart your device. There is also a possibility that you may get a security message thrown up. And if that happens, you'll need to head down to privacy and security in your macOS settings. And then you'll get a message down here saying something about allow. You'll need to allow this driver. This doesn't always happen, but it does sometimes happen. So just be aware of that. You can use other MIDI interfaces for this, but the reality is that many of the lower cost ones you can pick up off eBay or Amazon or something like that will not actually transmit system exclusive messages correctly. And the VG-99 requires that to interface correctly with the editor and librarian. So with that said, the next thing you're going to need is the crossover software. So head over to the CodeWeaver site and you can find the download for crossover Mac trial. I'm using 24.05 version here. In previous videos, I've stated you have to do some like modification to playlist files. You don't need to do it on this version. It all just works. I think it's a 1 week or 2 week trial. Get it installed. Then the next thing you're going to want to do is head back over to the Roland site and look for the VG-99 updates and drivers page. Now just be careful. You don't want the Mac version here. You want to get the PC version, or the Windows version, I should say. So head down here to VG-99 Editor Librarian version 1.01 PC, and you're going to want to get that downloaded. Okay, so assuming that you're using the UM1, the first thing you're going to want to do is install your driver. Okay, so that's going to require you to open this up, and then there's a package in here that you can run. As I said, your computer will restart. Okay, I've already done that, so I'm not going to do it here, and I also don't want to restart my computer. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is extract the crossover zip file. Okay, you're going to drag this crossover app into your applications folder. Now, I've already done it, so I'm not going to do that again. Okay, but you'll just drag it directly into the applications folder. Okay, once you're in the applications folder, you want to find crossover and launch it. Okay, so here we are in crossover now, and you can see here I've got an empty bottle. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click install, and I'm going to click install an unlisted application. Okay, so I'm going to go in reverse order here. You need to select the bottle to install this software into. I'm going to make a new bottle. I'm going to call it Roland VG-99. I'm going to leave this as Windows 10 64-bit. Okay, and then you'll need to provide the installer file or disk in order to install this software using crossover. Okay, so I'm going to go into my downloads folder, and we can see here I've got this VG-99 editor librarian zip file. I need to extract that first. Okay, so now that I've extracted it, I'm just going to go back into the downloads folder, VG-99 editor librarian 101. I'm going to choose setup.exe, and it's chosen. Install. And what you're going to see happen now is the installer is going to open it, and it's going to run just like you're inside a Windows device. Give it a minute. Okay, and I'm just going to do the complete install and let it run and do its thing. Done and dusted. Let it finish. Okay, and now what we're going to see in here is we've got this Roland VG-99 bottle, and we've got these applications and these online manuals here. Okay, and that's that. Now, from this point, you can open this application. But you're going to get a message here telling you that the MIDI devices are not connected. Okay, you can head up to here to the setup menu, and you can see we have no MIDI devices selected. You've already installed your driver for your UM1. Okay, but you got to connect your UM1. So we're going to plug it in here. I'm going to see it pops up here. Okay, we've now got a UM1 connected to our macOS. And the great thing about Crossover is that even though it's running this Wine emulation or this Windows emulation, it can still take MIDI data from macOS directly. So if we relaunch our VG-99 editor now that the UM1 is connected, we're still going to get that message, but we're going to see now that in the MIDI devices, we do have a UM1, and we can connect that. And from this point, if you click on patch list, it'll populate, and pretty much it should be working now. But just to prove the point, I'm going to close this again, and I'm going to open the VG-99 editor one more time, and this time we should see the magical blue line of pleasure as it indicates that the data is being received from the VG-99. So this is good. This now means that you got your patch list, and basically anything that you do on the device now, anything you do on the GUI here is going to be reflected on the device. You can see there I'm turning off the COSM A and B. The orange lights are indicating that they're turning on and off. And by the same token, if you turn stuff off on here, it should be reflected on the GUI of the application. You're going to want to do the same thing with the VG-99 Librarian if you intend to use that. In here, you'll need to go to Setup, Set up MIDI devices. You're going to want to choose UM1 again. Boom, boom. And if you now, for example, do a read all, you'll see that this is working. I'm not going to do that right now, so I'm just going to cancel that out. A couple of bonus tips. The first one, if you want to use this install on a different computer, you can right click on here and you export it. I'm going to just export that to my desktop, and you can see it takes a little while. But what it does is it creates this .cx archive file. Okay, so once that is showing ready, the archive file here should be complete. That's 135.1 megabytes. That's not too big at all. I'm going to drag this over into my VG-99 backup folder. It's going to say there's an older item, but I'm just going to replace that because this is the most current version. And it just means that if you do a reinstall of your system, or if you want to put this on a different computer, you can just whack that in and you'll have no problems at all. Next bonus tip. If you want to get rid of these online manuals, you can do that. You can go into your main hard drive, users, there's me, applications. Inside this crossover folder here, there's a VG-99 editor folder. Inside the VG-99 editor folder, you can simply select those two applications and delete them. And when you reload crossover and come back to your Roland VG-99 bottle, you'll notice that you only have the VG-99 editor and the VG-99 Librarian applications. The other help files are gone. I don't find them particularly useful. If you go into your Launchpad, you'll notice that icon applications have been created for the editor and the Librarian. You can put them where you like. I like to keep these things pretty organized, so I'm going to pop them over here with my hardware editors. Okay, and that's useful. And just as one more tip, if you launch the editor and you want to have quick access to it, you can just drag it anywhere on your dock and it'll stay there. So it's getting data, but I'm just going to quit that now. Okay, so you can see it's not active right now. And I'm going to also quit crossover. And what you'll notice is that when you launch the application now, it automatically launches crossover also. And this should all just connect up automatically now. Give it a second. It's loading. And Bob's your uncle. You're good to go. So at this point, you've got your audio taken care of. You've got your MIDI taken care of. And the only thing that we haven't really exactly covered is using the Pitch-to-MIDI side of the VG-99. The VG-99's Pitch-to-MIDI is not all that great. It's I personally don't use it anymore. I only use MIDI Guitar 3 with the SY1000. But if you do want to use it, it's passable for some applications. What you'll want to do is, first of all, you need to go to the device itself and you'll need to go into the Guitar to MIDI settings and you'll need to make sure that it's turned on, like so. Okay, so that's on now. Okay, so another pro tip. If you go into your audio MIDI settings and you see UM1, maybe you want to relabel that. So I'm just going to call this VG-99. Another thing you can do is if you go into Library, Audio, and MIDI devices, you can see you have these two folders here, custom and generic, and these are just icons. So in the images folder here, I've created a bunch of PNG files. Yeah, right, there's two. Okay, so you can see I've got a couple of VG-99 images down here. You can download those off the internet. And if you want to make a backgroundless PNG, yeah, you can search how to do that. But in here, I'm adding my VG-99 icon, and I've just changed the name here to VG-99. And now my device is showing up like this in the list. And what it means is if I go into live, I go into my MIDI settings here, I've now got a VG-99, which is also UM1. Active, that's good. Okay, so if I want to use the pitch to MIDI, I can now receive MIDI from the VG-99. Make that active. And we can take any instrument. Let's take a wavetable synth. So once you've selected that, it's just as easy as dragging over a pad onto there, and you just want to make sure the pitch bend range for your VG-99 and the instrument match. Now, the pitch bend range of the VG-99 is hard set at plus minus 12 semitones. So just make sure you've got that done. Now, because of the way I've got my VG-99 configured with my audio setup right now, you won't be able to hear it if I play it back. So I'm just going to leave that. This is not a demonstration of playing, it's just a demonstration of how to get things set up. So you're good to go with that now. And I guess the last thing I'd mention, since you've changed that, you might just want to confirm that when you go into the VG-99 editor, that the port names are still correct. Now, I think that the way crossover works, yeah, this is grabbing the MIDI from the device. So even though you've changed the name on the macOS side, it still registers this as UM1. Okay, so some applications will, you go on now. So some applications like Ableton will register the new name, but I don't think applications that are running under Wine, under Crossover, will register that. I think that's about it. If you've got that covered, you should now have the audio and the MIDI working. The last thing I would mention is that it's possible to send data to your VG-99 from your computer now. So I'm just going to just do something really basic here. I'm going to go into the program changes thing here, and I'm going to send MIDI to the VG-99. And I think the VG-99 is configured to receive MIDI on channel 2, that's right. So I'm going to change this to channel 2. And I'm just going to show you how this works here. If I start this clip playing, I should now be able to change programs like this. And this is just a result of me changing the program number down here, and that's getting sent through the device. Another thing we can do is we can send CC data to the device. So I'm just going to open up a clip here, and I'm going to create a ramp here for CC11. So MIDI control, yep, expression control CC11. Okay, I'm going to play that clip, right? And I'm going to make sure it's sending to VG-99 channel 2. And if we have a look at the device now, I should be able to go, I believe that controls one of the, yeah, there we go. It's the mix level for the Cosm guitar. So you can see there very clearly. Okay, one more thing, just to verify that the Pitch-to-MIDI is working for the VG-99, I've gone into a MIDI monitor here and I've selected the VG-99 UM1 output. And I'm just going to play through string by string. Okay, so we can see that the Pitch-to-MIDI data is working there. I'm currently using poly mode. So I'm just going to go into the guitar to MIDI settings on the device, and I'm going to go into the patch level, and the very first thing is mode. I'm going to change that from poly to mono, and you can see now all the channels are active. Okay, so that's working. So I think that's everything. We've been through all the necessary steps to get your audio and your MIDI set up for the VG-99 and macOS, and everything should be fine there now. If you do need more involved information, you can always hit me up for private tuition. Find my details in my profile, and I hope you all found this helpful. Okay, catch you on the next one. Bye for now.